Welcome, everyone. Today, we're looking into something really crucial if you're planning any kind of trip to Nepal, especially a trek. We're talking about the Code of Conduct, the unwritten rules for visiting and trekking there.
Exactly. It's not just about being polite, though that's part of it. It's more like an essential guide, really based on the amazing work of Nepal guidebook author David Ways. He's been compiling this sort of unofficial, but maybe soon official, list of things travelers should really know and follow.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that David isn't just putting this list out there. He's actually issued an open challenge, haven't he? He's asking you, the listener, the traveler, for feedback.
That's right. Suggest new rules, challenge the ones he's listed, and if your idea gets used, you could actually get acknowledged in his next guidebook. It's a pretty neat way to contribute to responsible travel.
Absolutely. And understanding these codes, even the simple ones, gives you such a valuable insight into Nepali culture. It really helps ensure your trip is harmonious and respectful, avoiding common mistakes.
Definitely. But before we dive into those unwritten rules, we probably need to quickly touch on the official stuff, the regulations, because that's often the first thing people encounter, and it can be, well, confusing.
Right. So what are the absolute basics? The non-negotiables from the government.
Okay, so you absolutely need a valid tourist visa. That's standard. Then for trekking, you need permits, usually national park permits, and your travel insurance must cover trekking, specifically the altitude you'll be reaching.
Hmm. And these rules come from different places, right? It's not just one body.
Exactly. You've got the Nepal Tourism Board, NTB, the Trekking Agencies Association, TAN, the national parks themselves, immigration. Non-compliance can lead to pretty hefty fines, like up to 12,000 rupees, or even permit cancellation or deportation in serious cases.
And there was that big change recently, wasn't there? Since March 2023, guides became mandatory for most areas. And the TIMS card.
Yes, the Trekking Information Management System card, or TIMS. Mandatory guides and TIMS cards are now the rule for most protected trekking areas. But, and this is a big but,
There's always an exception.
always. The big one is the Salukumbu region, where Mount Everest is. Back in 2018, that local municipality basically stopped recognizing the national mandatory guide rule and the TIMS card. They introduced their own local system, the Trek card.
So it's a bit messy depending on where you go.
It can be, yeah. The official rules shift, but the unwritten rules, the code of conduct we're focusing on today, that's universal. That's about respect, regardless of your permit type.
Okay, perfect transition. Let's get into this code of conduct then. We could probably split it into two parts. General rules for being in Nepal anywhere, and then specifics for when you're actually out trekking. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's start with the general cultural codes.
Right. First up, something quite common sense for many places. Dress conservatively.
Absolutely key, especially when you're in villages or around religious sites like temples or monasteries. Avoid overly tight or revealing clothes. It's just a sign of respect for local sensibilities.
Makes sense. And then there's the right hand rule. Use your right hand for giving, accepting, eating. Why is that so important?
Well, traditionally, the left hand is considered unclean because it's associated with personal hygiene after using the toilet. So using it for eating, passing money, or giving a gift is a definite cultural no-no. Always use the right hand or both hands together if it's something significant.
Good tip. Okay, this next one feels vital in the age of smartphones. Ask permission before taking photos of locals or their homes. David Ways specifically warns against poverty tourism.
He does, and it's such an important point. Taking photos of people, especially in vulnerable situations, without their consent just for your Instagram feed, it's exploitative. A simple smile, a namaste, maybe gesturing towards your camera, it usually works, and if they say no, you respect that.
Speaking of which, the greeting itself. Greet people with a polite namaste.
It goes a long way, just putting your palms together, a slight bow, saying namaste. It shows respect and acknowledges the person. It's appreciated.
And linked to that respect is behavior in public. Avoid public displays of affection, PDA. And definitely no stripping off for a swim or public nudity.
Yeah, Nepal is generally a conservative society. Holding hands might be okay in tourist areas like Thamel and Kathmandu, but anything more is usually frowned upon. And spontaneous swims in inappropriate places. Just don't. Also on that note, don't drink alcohol openly on the streets. Keep it inside bars or restaurants.
Okay. What about interacting with children? The advice is do not give money or sweets directly to children.
Right. It might feel kind, but it encourages begging and can undermine parental authority or local efforts to manage things properly. If you genuinely want to help, the better way is to donate to a registered local school, a health post, or a community project.
That makes sense. Here's one that shows real insight into hospitality. Accept tea when invited by locals.
Oh, absolutely. Hospitality is huge in Nepal. If someone invites you into their home or even their shop for tea, refusing can actually be seen as quite offensive. It's a gesture of welcome, so accepting, even just for a few sips, means a lot.
Good to know. And a point of etiquette when moving around. Never walk directly in front of someone who is sitting, praying, or worshiping.
Yeah, always make the to walk behind them. It's about not disturbing their space or their focus, especially in religious contexts. Basic respect again.
And connected to that, don't mock or laugh at local customs, even if something seems unusual to you. And crucially, don't sit on sacred structures like stupas or chaitas.
Exactly. Stupas, those dome-shaped structures, and chaitas, smaller shrines, they are deeply religious sites. Climbing or sitting on them is highly disrespectful. Treat them like you would any place of worship back home.
Okay, one last general point before we hit the trails.
Yeah.
Haggling. The advice is remember the price of things back home before haggling hard for non-essential items.
This is such a great reality check. Bargaining is part of the culture for certain things, like souvenirs, but getting into a protracted argument to save, say, 50 cents or $1 on something, when you think about what that money means to the vendor versus what it means to you, keep it in perspective. Be fair.
Right, fair enough. Okay, that sets the scene beautifully for general conduct. Now let's shift gears to the trekking-specific rules. These seem very focused on the environment and trail life.
They are, and the first one really impacts everyone's experience. No loud music or shouting, keep voices low, use earphones if you want music.
Why is this such a sensitive point in the mountains?
Well, several reasons. Firstly, the mountains themselves are often considered sacred spaces. Silence or the natural sounds are part of that. Secondly, it respects wildlife. Thirdly, it respects other trekkers who are there for the peace and quiet. David mentions a specific jarring example on the Mohur Danda trek.
I have that.
A guide was apparently blasting loud hip-hop from a portable speaker carried in his backpack. It completely ruined the atmosphere for others. And when someone complained, the guide basically ignored it, likely not wanting to upset his own clients who requested the music. But it affects everyone. Phone calls on speaker, loud chatter, it all detracts.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, next, environmental responsibility. Pack out all your trash, everything. Food scraps, wrappers, toilet paper.
Everything. Because at high altitudes, things decompose incredibly slowly, if at all. Apple cores, orange peels, they can take years.
Yeah.
And plastic, forever. Any trash left near tea houses often just gets collected and burned somewhere out of sight, which contributes to air pollution and the haze you sometimes see. The Koper Donda trek was noted as an example where this is visible. If you carried it in, you must carry it out.
And protecting the path itself. Stick to the designated trails. Never shortcut the switchbacks.
Oh, this is a huge one. Cutting corners on those zigzagging trails might save you 30 seconds, but it causes terrible erosion. It wears down the path, creates channels for water runoff, and scars the landscape for literally decades. It looks awful, and it's damaging. Stay on the marked path.
Got it. Now, for cultural sites on the trail, like Mandy Stones or stupas.
Walk clockwise around them. This means keeping the structure to your right as you pass. It's the traditional Buddhist way of showing respect through circumambulation, so effectively you walk to the left of it.
Okay. And no campfires.
Right. Most national parks have banned them. Wood is a very scarce resource at altitude, needed by locals for cooking and heating. Plus, there's the fire risk. Use gas stoves if you're camping independently, but most trekkers stay in tea houses anyway.
And on hydration. Avoid plastic water bottles.
Yes, please. The plastic waste problem is enormous. It's much better to carry reusable bottles and treat water using purification tablets, a filter like a Sawyer or Life Straw, or by buying boiled water from the tea houses.
Makes sense. Now, what about trail traffic? Who has right-of-way?
Simple rule. Yield to uphill trekkers and porters. They're working harder. Give them space.
And when encountering pack animals, yaks, donkeys, mules, or even porters carrying heavy loads.
This is critical for safety. Step to the mountainside of the path. That's the inside, away from the drop-off.
Why specifically the mountainside?
Think about it. If you step to the cliff edge side and a yak bumps you, you could potentially be pushed off. If you step to the uphill side, the worst that happens is you get nudged into the hillside. It's a simple rule that prevents serious accidents. Always step inside.
Okay, that's a really important safety tip. Now let's talk about personal health and your trekking team. First, a huge one. Never hide altitude sickness symptoms from your guide.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Altitude sickness can be fatal if ignored. People sometimes try to tough it out because of pride or not wanting to slow the group down. Don't. Your guide is trained to recognize symptoms and knows how to manage the situation, whether it's resting, descending, or getting help. Be honest.
There
Always.
was a really grim story mentioned about that, wasn't there?
Yeah, a reported incident on the Annapurna circuit where a group allegedly left a sick member behind because they didn't want their own trek interrupted. Horrifying, and highlights why honesty and group responsibility are vital. Also, related to your guide, don't pressure them to continue in dangerous weather or unsafe conditions. They know the mountains far better than any tourist or weather app. Trust their judgment.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift to the economics and culture of tea house trekking. There's a golden rule mentioned. Eat where you sleep. What's the story behind that?
This is fundamental to how the tea house economy works. Tea houses often charge very little for the room itself. Sometimes it's incredibly cheap or was even free in the past based on the expectation that you'll buy all your meals and drinks from them. That's where they make their actual income.
Ah, okay, so if you stay there, but then go eat dinner at the next tea house up the trail.
The owner of the place you're sleeping is likely to charge you a much higher rate for the room when you check out, because you didn't provide them with the expected business from food and drinks. It's not about being mean, it's just their business model. So, support the tea house you're staying at by eating there.
That makes perfect sense. And that ties into the next point. Do not haggle for fixed price items like meals and lodging.
Exactly. Menu prices for food, drinks, and the room rate are generally fixed. Remember that dal pat that costs maybe $8 or $10? Trying to bargain that down by $1 might seem trivial to you, but it cuts significantly into the owner's profit margin, especially considering the huge effort and cost involved in transporting supplies up to high altitudes. It's just not appropriate. Yeah.
Got it. And just general tea house living etiquette.
Be mindful of others. The walls are often incredibly thin, so keep noise down, especially early morning or late evening. Use shared toilets and showers quickly and efficiently, leaving them reasonably clean. And a big one. Do not just wander into the kitchen unless you are specifically invited by the owner. It's their private space.
Right. And if you've hired a guide, and maybe porters, how should you handle tipping?
Tip them individually and directly at the end of the trek. Don't give a lump sum to the guide to distribute unless that's the specific arrangement. A common guideline is around 10–15% of the total trek cost, shared amongst the team, but tip based on service. And importantly, treat your guide and porters as equals, not servants. Share a conversation, show respect.
It really does all seem to boil down to awareness and respect, doesn't it? Maybe a dose of humility.
Exactly. The source material makes a great point about not judging others. You see someone riding a pony, don't assume laziness. Maybe they have an injury or disability. Someone drinking bottled water. Maybe they have a medical condition requiring it. Just be open-minded and focus on your own responsible behavior.
One last quick point, drones.
Drones. Increasingly popular, but a bit of a headache in Nepal's trekking areas. You technically need permits from both the Civil Aviation Authority, CAN, and the specific national park, which can cost upwards of $50 and involve bureaucracy. Plus, honestly, they're widely disliked by locals, guides, and many trekkers. They're noisy, invasive, disturb wildlife, generally more trouble than they're worth for most people.
Good heads up. So ultimately, following these codes, written and unwritten, it's about shifting from just being a tourist passing through to being a genuinely welcome guest, right?
Perfectly put. It ensures you have a richer experience and leave a positive footprint, helping to sustain the culture and environment of the Himalayas for the future.
And for listeners who want a quick reference, David Ways has created a really clear infographic summarizing this code of conduct. It's excellent. We'll definitely put a link to that in our show notes.
Yeah, it's super useful. And remember David's challenge. Think about your own experiences. Are there rules you think should be added or maybe tweaked? Let him know. You might end up in the next guidebook.
A great opportunity.
And one more thing for those interested in Nepali culture, particularly festivals, David has also shared some fantastic resources on Tihar, the Festival of Lights. In-depth looks at each of the 5 days with great photos. Definitely worth checking out.
Excellent. You can find all of this, the infographic, the Tihar details, and comprehensive Nepal travel info and guidebooks on David Way's website, The Longest Way Home. We'll link that too.
It's an invaluable resource. So until next time, travel thoughtfully and travel respectfully.